Hey gang, in the closet. Not for that reason. I like men, women, and everything in between. Anyway, I'm hiding from the scientist right now. I asked him why the number 1 is a prime number, and he's been going for like 2 hours, so I should have time for a stealth review. This was supposed to be Orphan, Scion of Sorcery, but once he found that out, he locked it away and told me if I want it back, I'd have to go outside. And that's not happening. I wonder why I'm tired all the time. Vandalhearts is a turn-based strategy game, or SRPG, whichever one takes your fancy, made by the pachinko company and corpse defiler Konami. Back in the day, Konami used to have their fingers in every genre, as they were a huge games development and publishing powerhouse. These days it's hard for them to get any mainstream success that's not Yu-Gi-Oh related. In their giant catalog of games sits many buried titles. I don't know if Vandalhearts counts, as I have no idea how well known this game truly is. No clue why I owned it as a kid, I just did, like most people with random games. However, nothing truly gets forgotten in this age. Every other day a game I've never heard of gets an English patch. The Saturn version of Vandalhearts got this treatment very recently. For better or for worse. Hell, people are dedicated enough to bring over games exclusive to a Korean version of the 3DO. Do I understand that level of commitment? No. Do I appreciate it? Hell yeah, I do. Regardless, it's a game I'm very fond of, so allow me to give you a tour of Vandalhearts. As per usual for PS1 games, I'm using DuckStation to emulate this, so enjoy the widescreen. The text and portraits are a little stretched, but I think that's worth it for the viewing experience. Didn't really have an impact on gameplay other than I could see a bit more of the battlefield. Most of it gets culled for performance reasons anyway, still nice to have. On the topic of visuals, I wouldn't say Vandalhearts is anything special considering we're still early on in the PS1 lifespan. Unless it's a man-made structure, most of the 3D conforms to a grid, causing some uniformity that's great for gameplay clarity, but makes natural areas look like Legos. So the textures do all the heavy lifting to imply detail. You can tell it shares devs with other Konami games, probably Castlevania. The way the colors like to step down into colder saturations, the specific combo of black and red shades. A small touch I really appreciate is that first your squad looks ragtag, because, well, they are. 3 dudes from the local police, a girl and her butler, a lone wolf, a drunk, 3 people who avoided becoming zombies, a dude from the end of the universe, and a guy you found in prison. As everyone advances in their classes, they all start to incorporate more and more colors from a shared palette, which at the end of the game makes the squad look like a cohesive whole. And honestly, that cherry pink they used in conjunction with that silver really makes everyone pop. Though it does have some quirks that immediately identify it as Vandalhearts, usually due to how the sprites look. This is Kira. She's an archer. This is her backwards facing sprite. As you can see, she has a nice bum. This is her forward facing sprite. She continues to have a nice bum. This is Grog. He's a swordsman. I would like you, in real life, try to stand like this. Please note, I have no clue which leg this is supposed to be. This is Dolan. He's a duelist. Despite carrying a sword, he likes to punch people in the face. I need to emphasize I'm not dogging on the animation style or claiming this is bad animation. I just think it's peculiar. Your archers have giant crossbows so they load and fire manually, but the ranged enemies just kinda chuck stuff half the time. Eleni being the only party member with a post-attack animation when she's a monk, making her look like a psychopath when the enemy explodes into a geyser of blood. It gives it all a personality that's wholly Vandalhearts. There is no faceless people for you to give a base job like Final Fantasy Tactics, nor are you recruiting turncoats left or right a la Fire Emblem. The game will hand you 12 people throughout the game and that's that. Your most important unit is Ash, a typical hero archetype being a great fighter plus basic offense and healing magic. To round out the front line is 3 other soldiers, 4 archers, 2 mages and 2 healers. This is the bog standard composition you start with and will be easily enough for the entire game. Thankfully there's a degree of customization. Everyone but Ash gets to spec into something different. Soldiers can trade in their mobility to become guardsmen. Amazing health and damage, capable of soloing a batch of other melee units. Critically weak against mages, however. Archers are late game monsters, firing only in cardinal directions, which seems like a weakness at first. But add height to the equation and watch as everything dies before it even sees you. Unless you want to become the arrow. Hawk Knights are the other side of the coin of archers. Melee units with the ability to ignore terrain penalties, making water their playground. Funny thing is, they also become weak to arrows. Mages and healers are AoE masters in both harming and healing, or they can hang up their staves for claws, or tonfa that are secretly claws. Monks are the all-rounder. Movement, healing, magic attacks, support magic, decent offense, a worthwhile trade in my opinion. Apart from a single roadblock that I'll get into later, you can mix and match these classes to your heart's content. And you better, because other than choosing what items to bring, that's all you have. Once you've loaded into a map, the game decides where your units are placed and who is fighting. Before you worry about that last point, if a party member is capable of being in a fight, they will be. Unless the plot puts them in prison, literally. Back to the start of battle. The game has predetermined starting positions for everyone in every map. Most of the time it's logical. Melees up front, archers or flyers at the sides, with mages in the back. Or maybe it'll put half the melee in the rear, archers form in a middle column, and everyone else just put wherever, I don't know, whatever, fuck it. This becomes frustrating with the melees specifically. Guardsmen have crappy movement, can barely climb a hill on a good day. So to have the game put them as far away from the action as possible, in maps where the first turn is critically important, it just sucks. Once or twice I just left them at the beginning. He will never see any action at this rate, so it's a waste of my time to move him. There is an upside to all this. Other games in this genre usually have a lot more player creativity for your unit choices. So battles tend to be created around a specific problem or set piece, since the devs can't predict what the player will have later into the game. My mind always goes to this fight in Final Fantasy Tactics. There's a dude at the top of a bell tower. The battle is designed for you to go around the whole map in order to climb up to the dude and give him a good whacking. Slight problem. FFT is known for its job system, which allows for creative class combos, and there are so many that gives you the ability to just murder him on turn 1. My favourite is Dragoon Ninja Ramza that can just whoop. That's not a flaw of FFT, it's kind of the whole point. To have 5 party members that can be spec'd into whatever crazy bullshit the game lets you pull off. Remove that from the players though, and that changes fast. With the designers having full control over the battles, they have the ultimate freedom in creating the scenarios for the battles, which I think is Vandalhearts' biggest strength. We still have standard battles. Not everything can be special, and nor should it be. Half of the game is these normal fights, at first getting you into the groove of the game, and later becoming a palate cleanser between the more special maps. Never underestimate the value of a well-placed squash match. A decent percentage is dedicated to maps that ask you to act fast, established early on with a battle on a bridge that is exploding slowly, removing ground bit by bit, pushing you into the enemies. An idea that gets revisited later on in the form of a train. Cars get removed every few turns, better pick up the pace. One such map sticks you in the middle of overwhelming numbers and tells you to escape. But a quick peek at the objectives just lists defeat as the death of Ash. So if you're feeling brave, you can turn this timed map into a slaughter. Something I greatly appreciate. The enemies don't even give good XP, and are way stronger than they should be. I just want to send a message. The last group of maps would be its own gimmicks. A giant sand ant in the desert reforms the map as it moves. An innocent village has been transformed into zombies, and the only way to revert them is to destroy these literal evil statues. Try your best to corral the villagers without violence. This ancient ruins has a long-forgotten mechanism called an elevator. Split your party in half in order to reverse this dangerous area. Diego, you can fly. Why are you taking the lift? Another thing that marks us down as Vandalhearts is how the AI acts, and all of its questionable ways that will confound you from time to time. The game can be brutal in its targeting. Remember what I said about archers? It loves sticking enemy archers on the high ground you need to push towards, and that's to be expected. They're made of glass if a decent melee gets to them. The problem is when they smell blood. You can't preview their range, only their movement, which means an educated guess is all you have. Hope you guessed correctly. Same goes for the mages. Can't really know how close is too close until they murder you for getting too close. Quick thing to bring up, if anyone other than Ash dies, or whoever is the defeat condition, They just get removed from the battle and you'll incur a money penalty at the end tally, so don't worry too much about losing Grog for the 10th time. Vandalhearts is a devastating game, most of the time. I've had enemies show mercy, and for a while I was stumped as to why. I figured it out after a bit. The AI has a very easy to exploit weakness. These foes are big into Dark Souls PvP because they love backstabs. Simply get a tanky unit, face it backwards, and the AI will go feral. It does not matter if a squishy unit is clinging onto life with a single HP in the middle of murder fields. If they can backstab, they will. Doubly making the fights nasty at times is the lack of an attack summary. I'm not sure how common this was around this time, so I won't trash on it for lacking something that might not have been standard. To be honest, despite liking this genre, I've only played Final Fantasy Tactics and the XCOM remake. I need to fix that. It's worth mentioning that for people who like clear information to help with their decision making. You would think that would make the game harder? Not really. Mages get massive AoEs, plus any magic attack does not trigger a counter attack. So most of the time you whittle them down with ranged, then go for a kill on melee, creating a domino effect that feels really good, especially with that death noise. Can we hear that like 5 more times, please? Sound effects are all good. Magic is wavy and swords are swooshy. I did spot a voice sample that I never thought I'd hear in a game like this though. Let me play it for you. Any Jet Set Radio fans will be able to identify that as Funky Dealer.
Ladies and gentlemen, born he made it the hard way. Hey, the front line takes the heart. You have a shooter and a good one. Coming out for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen.
I knew that voice sample got around, but really? Vandalhearts? Okay. I won't go into too much detail with the soundtrack as I like to usually do. It's not something I would put on for more casual listening, but it would be very silly to ignore its importance on setting the tone for the rest of the game to follow. Seeing as you control a lot more units than its contemporaries, and the fact that it's a military unit, it makes sense that the whole OST gives off army vibes. Very heavy on the brass and percussion, with the occasional woodwind thrown in. It gives off this constant sense of moving forward, complete with a triumphant flair. Other tracks reflect more of the danger of a battlefield. This is life and death after all. No story spoiler section today. Vandalhearts is very much a the good guys win and the bad guys lose sort of plot. No out of nowhere twists, no cliffhanger endings. It does have 2 moments of because magic. Oh no, our mage fight is tearing a hole in the space-time continuum. Nevertheless, as stupid as that is, it is used and called back to a few times, rather than just being something that moved the plot forward. The word that keeps coming to my head is efficient. The story is solid. Everyone has at least one reason to follow Ash, which is more than most games I can list. All but one of the battles characterizes someone or has a connection with the story, and even that single battle is debatable. With all that plot stuff out the way, I will touch on the super secret 4th class for Ash. Hidden around the games are 6 keys. Taking one of these keys to the dojo has the master ask if you want to attempt a trial. Accepting takes you onto that key's challenge map. And apart from the 5th map, which took time away from my precious existence, were all fun little experiences. It's recommended that you hold on to these keys until you have 12 party members, but they can be done earlier for a decently tough encounter. You won't find all 6 keys on your first playthrough unless you're a very diligent person, with the nastiest requiring 3 items found on certain maps across multiple chapters. You also need to remember that this guy in the tavern is a collector. Find the ramen in the front of a magic train, don't ask, and then backtracking to the village to hand over all the stuff to him. He didn't say he wanted ramen, but he does. The reward for this game-long side quest is the Vandalier, Ash's ultimate class, and oh boy is it overpowered. Not only is all of his stats juiced, but he's a walking debug mode, having access to every spell in the game and has an infinite supply of items, which gets very stupid very quickly. So yeah, this spell does hit every enemy on the map, and yes, it is still going. Yeah, this is a feature. You get this. I would recommend doing the last chapter twice. First normally, and then going in for the victory lap with the Vandalier. Word of warning, in order to unlock Vandalier, you must have a single Hawk Knight in your party. Just for this key, in this lava lake. No matter how much you love archers, one of them has to be changed, which does suck a little. Oh, and don't be baited by old walkthroughs on the internet telling you that Vandalier is required for the true ending. Woo! You do get a small change right at the end, and it is a nice little gesture for sure, but it's not substantial enough for those who don't want to take the journey. Nothing is lost by simply beating the game normally. All in all, Vandalhearts is a tight experience I would recommend for people that enjoy this genre, those that want to look backwards for games they may have missed. It's not for everyone, considering the game has a very serious tone. Without Diego's tactical snarks, it would border on relentless. That and it's very linear. No grind in previous maps for experience. If those 2 points sound like a plus more than a negative, then yeah, please give it a go. I'm sure you can find it somewhere. Konami doesn't need your money. Vandalhearts does have a sequel, but that game innovated itself into nobody liking it. Having both allies and enemies' turns take place simultaneously, which on paper sounds good. I haven't really sat down with it long. Maybe it's actually super good and misunderstood. The true purist ideal game. But judging from a popular hack that came out at the end of last year that changed the battle system back into something traditional, I would assume it's not well liked. Oh, and the third Vandalhearts is a PS3 digital-only download that I haven't heard a single good or bad thing about, which is sometimes an even worse fate, and will disappear entirely when the PS3 store goes down. Has it gone down already? I don't know. I know the 3DS store is ended this year, but I can't keep track of this anymore. Like I said in the intro, there is a Sega Saturn version that got translated from Japanese, but again, I haven't had the time to dig into it. Apparently it has more content, something for the superfans to have a go at who might not know about its existence. As I'm finishing up the video, I did not mean for the ending to be so bittersweet, but there is a little hope. SRPGs have been having a little resurgence lately, so maybe we might get something again. Though to be perfectly honest, I'm content with Vandalhearts having a quiet, eternal rest. Maybe this will be one corpse Konami does not turn into a pachinko machine.